Oh, my noodle is noodling this morning. Yeah, you know how I said yesterday I was done with webcams for the foreseeable future? Oh, the brain. It's a tiresome beast. And I was 2 seconds too late, and now I'm stuck. I got, it's probably not going to be a big deal as far as the morning travels go, but I'm stuck behind school buses for the next few minutes. This guy cuts straight across 3 lanes of traffic. They do school pick, yeah, I don't know, of course, there's apartments along the road here, so there's school pickups. Yay! Anyhow, you know, one thing I wanted to mention yesterday, but kinda just got off on a rambling tangent. I did script my next Touching Gadgets video, the iPad Nano, epic, and I think it is going to be epic. I went over it last night. What I tried to do is, it seems to have worked so far with Touching Gadgets, is hammer out a first draft of the script, let it sit, and then come back to it. Just because, you know, well, and the situation, the production situation facilitates that, because I shoot it. I have to record all of the audio first, and then I have to shoot the video. And I can only shoot the video, or I only want to shoot the video on the weekend during the daytime. So ideally, I have, you know, if I don't have the script ready by Saturday, by Friday night, I have a whole week to really play with that script and make sure it's as tight as possible. So that's the idea. I write a first draft, and then I'll let it sit for a day or so, and then come back to it and go over it and refine it. And now that I'm getting a better ear for the performance style of Touching Gadget, which is really frenetic and out there, it's amazing, the kind of crazy, you know, it doesn't, the first draft of the script, I think, was pretty spot on. There were a few minor tweaks, but when you push those words through the filter of the frenetic, insane Touching Gadget style, it's just, I think it's genius. It's a hell of a lot of fun is what it is. Maybe not genius, but definitely fun, which is Touching Gadgets. That should be the tagline on Touching Gadgets. The website should be maybe not genius, but a hell of a lot of fun. Hell of a lot of fun. Yes. So the new iPad, and I think it's a good script. It's going to be a good video for those views. iPad Nano, the iPad Nano, yay! Of course, that's going to be great, because there is no iPad Nano. And it talks about Apple practices and the crazy shit Apple does. So there's relevant stuff, there's silly stuff. I think it's a good script. So I think I'm gonna definitely be able to work on that this weekend and get that ready. And it's good because, of course, my last episode, this is what's so frustrating about webcams, because I do have a formula. I have figured out a formula that works, Touching Gadgets. So my last episode, so we have 2 episodes that debut within weeks of each other, right? We've got the Nexus 7 and Razer episode of Touching Gadgets, which this morning had, I think, 430 views on it, which is really good, because those views keep coming in. That's the whole point of Touching Gadgets. The views keep coming in. And then you have, then you have webcams, which has 35 views on it. So, or 32 views, I don't know. 430, 30. It's hilarious. You know, one video actually works the system, that works the YouTube system, where it is relevant, it's searchable, and it finds a natural audience on YouTube. And the other one plays to the built-in audience of the handful of people who know me and care about the things I post. So it's an interesting split, and I wonder if there. I mean, like I was saying yesterday, what happens if I think more as a producer and less as an artist with webcams? And what do I come up with? And I don't know if that's what's motivated here in my thoughts this morning, but it could be. It could be. I think it will end up being, now that I'm talking about it. I'll make that effort to incorporate a more of a YouTube friendly pitch into webcams. And I have an idea. I have thoughts, while at the same time retaining a little bit of the artistic integrity of webcams. Never really thought about it that way, but I think when you look back at the last 4 episodes, yes, there is artistic integrity in those videos. There's an artistic integrity in that body. But actually, when it comes to what I was talking about yesterday and being kind of done with webcams for the foreseeable future, in spite of Eric saying he's ready to come back, the elephant in the room, as it were, is caffeine. And now that everything is shot and I've taken such a long break from editing, I really want to dive back into that and really start getting the last of that movie together. The last 60-70% of the movie cut together, and really genuinely see that to its. I saw it through the finish of taping. I want to see the finished product. So there's that. And the past week, it really has felt like I'm being there's too much to do. Too much to do? A little bit too much to do. In that I'm struggling. There's just a lot to do, and I've got trip stuff on a weekly basis, and when that comes in, I pretty much sit down and hammer that out, and get it done. And it's actually really easy to do that because it's a very straightforward edit process. There's not a lot of work that has to go into it to get to the finished product. There is editorial work. I'm not discounting my own contribution, but we've got it down to a process, and it's fairly easy to do. And in comparison, there's the stuff from Chris, which doesn't come in very frequently, but it has come in, and I've been working on it, but it's just the difference is, with Trip, there's usually a very bold narrative thread. He's standing there talking, right? And in his last episode of Bust the Stuff, which is live today, the narrative thread was weaker than usual. So I spent a little bit more time. I had a bit of trouble kind of like making sure that whole video worked, and then it was his suggestion to take out a whole segment, which actually tightened the whole thing up even more, which strengthened the thread even more. But when we flip over to Chris, that first video I did for him was substantially easier than this one, even though this one's going to be substantially shorter. Because he had that dialogue, that narrative throughout the whole video. He was saying something. There was a thread throughout the whole. There was a thread to connect everything. That's what I call the narrative thread. When I'm editing these things, I'm looking for the thread, and I want to cut the video together in a way that strengthens, keeps that thread really. First, when I'm editing, I have to find the thread to tie everything together. And then edit the thread itself to make that thread stronger. And the problem with Chris's new video that I've been working on for several weeks now is that it's all this performance stuff, and it's a ton of B-roll, and what I really had to do was just go through the B-roll, sort through the B-roll, pick out the snippets, because that's all it ends up being, just a snippet of something that's interesting that's happening in that B-roll, and I know that that's what I'm going to use, and then delete everything else, because it's just, if I leave it on my timeline, it's just this wealth of footage that's staring at me, going, how are you going to use me? I'm like, I don't fucking know. I have no fucking idea how I'm supposed to use you. So I have to snip out the useful bits and trim it down just to what I think is actually going to be beneficial to the video. And I've got most of that done. I've got all of that done, and now it's just going through all of that, using what narrative there is, and find that thread. And I would say I'm probably like 75% there. I just have to really kind of hunker down and pull the rest of it together. I don't know. I don't remember why I got off on that tangent. But yeah, I'm ready to get back to caffeine, and I don't feel like I have the liberty. I'm not giving myself permission to sit down to work on caffeine while, you know, this video for Chris has been weeks late. That's not fair to him. And certainly that was the same thing with webcams. I've been working on episode 38 for a shit long time. So I had that obligation that I just needed to get that off my plate before I work on something else. So I'm kind of clearing the plate, making room, making physical room and mental room for caffeine, and I just want to hunker down and get that done and dive back into that. But all that, which is why I anticipate why 38 was the last episode of webcams for the year, and the frustration with all of that and just kind of getting through that process, why I said yesterday that was probably going to be it for the foreseeable future. But all of that being said, this morning I did have ideas. Yesterday there was a conversation with Patty at work, and I think I said this in the video yesterday about how somebody on Facebook said, they were like, man, I love what the guy in the hat said. Yes, I totally agree with that. They really connected with Rob's words and Rob's rants in 38, and I was talking to Patty brought that up. Patty brought up how she did the same thing with Chick-fil-A and some of the other, actually it was just Chick-fil-A, but it was, I'm like, nobody realizes you guys are giving credit to the actor for these words that have a lot of meaning to them. The actor didn't write those words. Those are not the actor's words. And in Chick-fil-A, she attributes the beliefs to those specific people. She asked me if I was going to go vegetarian because of my position, and those are the words that were given to the actors. I'm responsible for the words as the writer. There's the credit right there at the beginning of the video, written by Jordan Crumby. So it's a frustration, and I don't know why it's a frustration. I think if anything, I should be happy that somebody is actually connected with the premise, the core premise of 38, of the few people that actually watched it, connected and understood the premise. But there is this conversation that's happening, and of course Eric is ready to come back, and I was thinking this morning how it would be smart to have Trip in an episode or two right now, just because, first of all, he's on his game. Secondly, give him another venue, and his exposure can help webcams. Give him something really proud to talk about. Give him something he can be really proud about within the webcams world, and it can be mutually beneficial. If I can crack the whole viewership problem. And then Tripp's wife is an actress, and I've known this for a little while, and that's one of my goals is to write something for her and get her to be part of the webcams world. So there's a lot of things at play, and there is some material that I wrote back when, I don't know if it was right when webcams was starting or just before webcams was getting back on the ball. But I wrote a couple of scenes with me and Slacktive, and I was noodling with this the idea of having a more balanced approach to webcams, where you can have the silly episodes and then flip over and have more intimate episodes that actually involve the people that have everything that are very personal. Go back to the Talking Heads sort of tube talking sort of style, and I had written these scenes, and I like the premise of it, and it speaks to the neurosis and everything else and the craziness, and it's a venue to actually go into that element of my world, where it's an unofficial therapy session between myself and Slacktive. Of course, one of the problems is that Slacktive, are you going to be around? Can you do these scenes for me? Are you willing to come back, if only within the world of webcams in Horror? I would love it if you could do that. I mean, that's how the scenes are written. It is literally written for you and me, and I wanted to write those scenes that way. So this idea that I have is take more of a Seinfeld approach, and this is kind of an interesting challenge for webcams, and I did it with tube talking, but it was long form. It was television form, right? The first episode of tube talking, for all intents or was it the second episode? Both of them together, for all intents and purposes, are a television episode, half-hour television program. But what if you take the like Seinfeld in the later seasons went super snappy, super short with their scenes, and I was thinking, you take the format of tube talking, where you have the scenes, and you have the sort of shorter segments, which I think as an editor and as the writer, editor, producer, makes an episode a little bit more palatable, because there's those defined segments I have to work with, and then the actors have much smaller parts to work with. So, and of course, I know that is certainly a problem with that. So if I apply that idea, okay, so there's 3 acts, 3 scenes. Condense it down. Make sure each scene is only like a page and a half, 2 pages, which is pretty short. But the idea is make sure that episode is under 5 minutes. It has to be under 5 minutes. And then you flip-flop. You have... So the outline I wrote this morning. The web therapy session, scene 1. Scene 2 was show without an audience, which is kind of what I'm kind of dealing with in my head right now. Chris tried chatting with me yesterday, And it's like, and I think he's getting the impression like, oh, I'm all woe is me, and sinking into why. And that's not the case. It's more of just a quiet reality. Webcams has no audience, and it's the I keep trying to maintain the artistic integrity of these new episodes, and it's not a big deal, Chris. It's not a big deal. And then Act 3 would be a more. So Act 2, a show without an audience, which would bring Eric back and bring back the premise of Tube Talking as this fake show within the webcams world, and then the third scene was credit actors and all those damn words. So that would bring in Trip and Trish and have that culmination that was a trademark of early episodes and webcam or Talking Heads and Tube Talking, where everybody just yells and screams and fights at the end. But the premise being exactly what I was just talking about. Here's credit. The actors are my puppets to an extent, and when I do, these last few episodes that I've written have been just this wealth of monologues and lots of words that people have an interesting time trying to. Everybody has their own techniques, I guess, for figuring out how to capture it on camera. So those are my noodles for the morning. My noodle is noodling. I'm gonna probably hammer something out because this script out because I know that I want it to be short. So my challenge as a writer, and this is what's interesting to me right now, is capture all of these ideas in something that's really entertaining and fun and short, very rapid fire, very concise, and see what happens. That should be interesting because the web therapy, I might actually shuffle the scenes around, because the web therapy scene is muted. It's the one that I've already written. I suppose I could write something new. It's very muted. It's very simple. It's very very introspective. Very neurotic. It needs to be well acted. Is what it needs to be. Okay, I gotta go. I'm at the office. Stay creative. Stay tuned.